Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Atrocious. You can also call me Jake, and today we're going to be talking about One Piece cards that I feel like you should buy now that we've seen a little bit of OP07, now that the ban announcement has officially released. Remember that the ban is only Japan, so we don't know exactly how the English game is going to react or if they're going to do a ban at all, but in my opinion, there is some influence in the prices right now that you could maximize on here in the future. I'm going to be using the prices and listings on tcgplayer.com because that's usually where I buy singles. It's not an advertisement. I've just used them for a number of years. So first things first, as always, I always recommend that you just buy play sets of everything if you're financially able. Even if you don't plan on ever using Maynard in a deck, it's way better to get Maynard for 1 cent right now rather than like $1 after we find out that he blows up because he's a Navy card and there's a blue Navy leader that could be really good, and I don't know. But maybe if you can't do that and you're like me, you're trying to maximize on your profits and like minimize buying as much as possible and spending, I'm going to key you in on cards that I think you should get. Now, if you aren't aware, maybe you haven't heard yet, there was a recent ban announcement for Japan only, like I mentioned, of 3 specific cards: Sakazuki, Great Eruption, and Reject. Reject, a card coming out in OP06 for us. In my personal opinion, I think you should always buy banned cards. We look to stuff in the past. Edward Newgate, the SR, when it was banned, it was like a $1, $2 card. Now, unbanned, it's a $14 card, and it's not really used in any decks, I feel like. At least ones that are what I would consider to be the best decks right now in the English format. Radical Beam, when restricted to 1, was 50 cents, now up to $4. So the first set that I'm going to talk about is the banned cards. Personally, I think this is one of the best times to buy the alternate art Sakazuki, especially if you're a collector like myself and want every single full art leader. Now, although I think you should also buy Great Eruption and, well, maybe wait until OP06 actually comes out, because there's no reason to pay $10 for this card. Wait until OP06 comes out. But for these two specifically, cards that have been out in English, these prices are going down, and I think that they're going to continue to go down. Sakazuki just a couple weeks ago was sitting at $100, and now you can get it for $67 in English. And again, the ban is just Japan as of right now. So what you could do is you could just wait. I would imagine, personally, if you want my personal opinion, nobody has influenced this but me. I think there's a possibility that Great Eruption doesn't get banned, but I think Sakazuki will definitely get banned in English. And the reason that I believe that is because in Japan they're making that new Sakazuki promo, a literal brand new card to replace this leader. If it was just like oh, you can't play this card and that's it, then I could see potentially this card coming back. But I think this leader is going to be gone forever, and I think it's going to become worldwide. So I would say keep an eye out on this leader. Maybe, you know, if $65, $67 is a little bit too much for you, totally understandable. I have not bought one either. I just pulled mine. You could probably wait on this and see this continue to go down, but I wanted to at least show you this and give my recommendation of like, hey, you should probably, especially these 2 cards, get these cards, because as we've seen in the history of banned cards in the One Piece trading card game, they skyrocket if they get unbanned. So if you want to grab these, hold on to them for a while maybe, especially if they're even cheaper than this in the future, we could see them unbanned. But again, don't buy Reject until it at least comes out. And even at that point, just wait for the rares to become like $1 and then get these rares, because this card's so good. The next set we're going to talk about is just several CP9 cards overall. They all connect to one singular deck, and that is the new Rob Lucci that came out in OP07. It is a viable deck. It's a good deck. People are playing it and doing well over in the East, and so I would recommend, especially this guy right here, pick up your Kaku SRs. I've seen several lists playing this Kaku right here, and so as $1 that you can get right now, even though you have to hold on to it for several months, I think that would just be better in the long run. You could also get your Khalifas and Span Dams. I know that those are being played in the decks as well. Khalifa, pretty good 2K, as well as that on play effect, and then Spandam is that kind of searcher for you. I believe is, yeah, searcher. I was going to say, I've never played with that card. And also maybe think about getting the alternate arts for some of these cards, right? The Spandam alternate art sitting at $15 hasn't really spiked up yet, but you could get a couple of these and hold on to them in the future. And then I think Khalifa has one too, an alternate art, but it's Khalifa. So does it, or is that Japan that has an alternate art? I'm showing it on screen. So the first card that I want to talk about actually is Kaaya. So I think a lot of people will say make sure you have Kaayas, but I'm specifically here telling you I don't know if I would buy Kaayas. And the reason that I'm saying I don't know if I would buy Kaayas, Kaaya has been on the rise for the last several months, but we know that in the OP06 format, the play promos that you get for participation and stuff will include this Kaaya. So inherently, that's going to be a cheaper option for the Kaayas overall, and also drive the price of this Kaaya down. I think with especially the 7 Warlord stuff that's going on, and Nami overall as a deck also just getting better, in my opinion, in OP07. Kaia's value continues to grow, especially as it's played in like the Reiju Vinsmoke family deck, because draw 2, trash 2, really good on play effect, and then a 2K counter as well is just super nice. We've seen promos in the past that get reprinted in the tournament packs inherently drive down the value of their original cards despite being very playable, including the Kaido here. You've seen the Kaido ever since OP05 came out has just continuously gone down and down, and this is like a play set in purple Luffy decks. The starter deck Rush Luffy, another one of the promos, has gone down and down as well since it released in OP05 in those participation packs. But if you want some other blue cards that could be viable, these two Gecko Moriras right here, this one from OP01 and then this one from the starter deck. Both of those cards I've seen a lot now in these like Boa Hancock 7 Warlords lists that are going on right now, and especially because I still believe that Flamingo is a viable deck and stronger in OP07. There are several decks that are going to be playing this combination of cards right now. This is just a really good recovery card right here, grabbing a 7 Warlords or Thriller Pirates card, and then this dude just getting double attack if you have 5 or more cards in hand. So just really strong in my opinion overall. Definitely, again, I've been seeing these cards appear in OP07 deck lists, and I'd imagine, especially after the bans hit Japan, and if they come in English, these cards are just going to go up and up, because I think their decks will inherently become better in the meta with the subtraction of Sakazuki. Another card I want to call out is an uncommon from OP01, Otama. Now, Otama has been one of the more expensive uncommons overall. This shouldn't be a surprise to a lot of people, but with it kind of being on a down point as of right now, we've seen this card kind of peak at $7.50 overall in its tenure, sitting at about $5.50. Otama is going to burn a hole in your pocket if you're excited for EB01 and like OP07, even as soon as OP06, with Red Purple Law getting better in the format and better as more sets come out in English. We've seen it happen in Japan. It will happen in English, I'm sure of it, especially if Sakazuki goes away. You're really going to want to grab these Otamas before it's too late. Yes, it's a Land of Wano red character, but it's a 2K with an excellent on play effect that can especially help that deck out and a lot of red decks overall. Just play Otama anyways, because it's a great 2K counter option. Definitely want to grab these. I'm also going to talk about BabyFive, and both of these BabyFives right here, the one from OP04 and then the Searcher BabyFive in OP05. Now, we've seen these cards kind of played, especially this BabyFive in Perona, but also now with the addition of Jewelry Bonnie, I've been seeing a ton of Jewelry Bonnie lists playing a mix of Supernova and Don Quixote Pirate cards. With the desire of playing the Don Quixote Pirates engine, BabyFive is your immediate startup. I think the time to buy the alternate art has kind of passed. It really just exploded once Perona won that championship that we covered here on the channel. But as a 2K counter option and also a really consistent searcher in BabyFive, because one thing about BabyFive too that's different than a lot of other searchers is BabyFive allows to find herself. She can actually find herself in her search. You can find another like BabyFive 1-drop because like you're paying the Dawn. I'm also going to stick on the blue a little bit longer and talk about another OP01 card, Don Quixote do Flamingo, the blocker. Having that on play effect of looking at the top 5 and place them at the top or bottom in any order. This is another inclusion that I was talking about in a lot of Boa Hancock decks, and honestly, if you're playing a blue 7 Warlords of the Sea deck, or even like Queen, I think plays this card, or at least it maybe did at one point. I'm not sure. I've never played Queen. This is a pretty good card and a card that you probably want to have on your radar, especially before we get to like the first tournament and Boa Hancock maybe wins and then this card explodes, because let me tell you, it's like a $3.50 card. You don't want to be caught with your pants down and this be over $5 when you're trying to buy it. So go ahead, spend the money now. You'll thank me later. Now, this is an interesting one with Great Eruption going away. I've seen a handful of people talk about potentially this card being a new option in decks like Sakazuki or Gecko Moira or something that want to play this card. I didn't know what this card was until I saw people talking about it in OP05, so it's pretty recent. You can get this really cheap. It's an event card, 1 cost, Hate Couture Patchwork. Probably said that wrong. On main, give up to one of your opponent's characters -3 cost for the turn. Then one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 0 will not become active in the next refresh phase. This is a really interesting card because it has that like dual value in terms of its use, and only 1 card, as well as a pretty good trigger of draw 2, trash 1. Especially even in something like Dressrosa with the blue-black Rebecca. I know some people have talked about the idea of like, oh, you don't want to play Sakazuki, just play Rebecca. Now that could be a full-on meme, but I do think there's some inherent value with this card. I do think it's actually like a decent card because -3 is honestly nothing to slouch at, especially for a 1 cost. Sure, you don't get to draw a card like you can in Great Eruption, but you get to -1 more. I don't know. I think this card's kind of neat. We're going to go into the starter deck cards now, cards that you can only find via starter decks in the One Piece trading card game that aren't bulked up like the Gecko Moira. Now, I talked about the Bonnie deck and the BabyFive Searchers, so with the Don Quixote Pirate Search, obviously Supernova Search is something that you want to play as well. Similar to the BabyFive, it does the same thing, can find itself. The only caveat is this one is Supernovas. This card has already been on the rise, I think, since basically Jewelry Bonnie's reveal. So if you haven't gotten it yet, especially because the deck is a viable deck in the format, I even predicted that it's going to be tier 1 right out of the gates in my video, and I firmly stand by that. And I think so far it's pretty good and almost true. This is going to be a staple card that you want, and especially with the Peronas as well. It's just, yeah, it's something that you just want 4 of. Another starter deck card that I'm going to talk about is Navy HQ. So a lot of people in response to the ban list that I've seen, especially like, oh, can this new Sakazuki actually do anything? Some people have been talking about this Navy HQ, and I've even seen people like at my local level even have some of these Navy HQs in their deck, because honestly, like just resting the stage and then giving an opponent's character -1 cost, it's just really, really nice. We don't have any stage deletions in the format, and plus if you do it on play for 1 Dawn, you can effectively put it down, give a character -1, and then rest it immediately to give it -2 overall. That could really help you out. So if you're in America, maybe check out this card before it goes up. It's like the only decently viable ST06 Navy starter deck card that's not like $10. Looking at you, Hina and Great Eruption, and the Helmeppo's going up, which by the way, I called the Helmeppo in the last video. You just maybe want to have this card again on your radar, and for $1 that you can get right now, it's pretty cheap. Like you can literally, no advertisements, but there are multiple sellers here, right here, just for $1 that you can buy a playset of. That's like $5 right there. You get a playset of them right after the shipping and stuff. Now we're gonna go into the SRs and above, and the first one I want to talk about is Eustus Captain Kids. So I specifically say wait to buy your Eustus Captain Kids just a smidge longer, but not too much longer, like right when OP06 is about to come out. Buy this card, because Eustus Captain Kid, I think, is a card that can fit in literally every single purple deck, right? Especially with that blocker, with a little bit of counter, with that attacking ability too, being a 6k body, and then also the once per turn, every time you put a Dawn back in your deck, bring 1 back and make it active. This is just a really, really strong card. Like this is basically strong like Queen, except Queen is much more exclusive in my opinion. And the reason I wanted to call this out is after OP05's release, this card has gone down, down, and down, because in my opinion, Purple Luffy has become less and less viable, and it will continue to be in OP06. But I think now's a fine time to get your Eustus Captain Kids at $5 a pop. Just over half, almost a third or 2/3 of what it was just a couple months ago. So I think this is a good one. I think that you should definitely get it, but it's not the only blocker that I think that you should buy in on. I think you should get your Boa Hancocks from OP01 if you haven't already. It kind of shocks me that this card is not more expensive, and I think that's thanks to the fact that we have several alternate arts of this card. I think that's what's kept this price from not being as high as some of the other OP01 SRs, especially with the new Boa Hancock leader. Again, just similar like some of the other 7 warlords of the sea cards. I've seen this in a lot of lists, and a lot of good lists too that have won tournaments. So you really want to make sure that you have this one. I don't think it comes as the box promo. I think it's just as this and like the alternate art right here. Oh, and this alternate art as well. But if Boa Hancock continues to hit the rise, and maybe Crocodile as well, this value is going to go back up. It's kind of on a down right now. You're saving about $1 to where you were a couple weeks ago, and I think as people start trying to figure out and seeing a little bit more of these deck lists appearing, this card's going to go up. The last one I'm going to talk to you about today is SOA King, the only secret rare that I have in this video. Now, this may surprise you, but I saw a winning list that had a whole play set. Boa Hancock winning list that had a playset of this SOA King secret rare from OP03. This is the cheapest that you can get this secret rare right now, and with that on play of returning characters, I know this was even played in Nami at one point. I don't think it'll continue to be played in Nami, but it has the flexibility in appearing in a lot of different blue decks. So I think honestly, I have like both of them. I mean, manga rares are on another level. Although this the cheapest manga rare? $17 for this alternate art that could potentially be a 4 of in a deck as a secret rare. That's pretty sick in my opinion, especially because it's been on the downcline and all the way back down, about $10 cheaper than where it was a month ago. So I think SOA King's a really cool card. I personally like this art the best. I think this is the best art with like the SOA King Sniper Warrior stuff on the side. But if you're a blinged out person, I think especially after all the Boa Hancock lists that we've been seeing and some of the ones that are listed on like OnePieceTopDecks.com, this is a card that could get really expensive if you're not careful on the secret rares. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know if you picked up any cards as of late. And I hope you're ready for OP06. I want to try to have some OP06 videos pretty soon in terms of like gameplay opening and stuff. And I've got a little thoughts of things that I want to do on the channel. So yeah, I don't know. That's all I got. Anyways, enjoy the rest of your day.